What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Paddy Pimblett not confident in Makhachev versus Topuria happening. Over the past few months, there's been tons of talk about a potential scrap between Topuria and Islam Makhachev. While the lightweight champion has said that the UFC's plans for him don't include Topuria, there's still been no word on when El Matador and Alexander Volkanovski will run things back. Because of that, the MMA community has been left to wonder what the UFC has planned. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. During an interview on the Blood Red Liverpool FC podcast, Paddy the Baddy weighed in on the potential Makhachev-Topuria fight.
I can't see Ilya fighting Islam. You know what I mean? He's only defended the belt once. Normally he needs to defend the belt like 3 times, and he's not that big of a star to just jump. He's not McGregor. You know what I mean? To just jump right up and fight for the other belt. So I can't personally see that happening, but we'll see what happens. You know what I mean? I heard Ilya's headline in the 314 event against Volk, but you don't know till nothing's finalised with the UFC. I have been told this and that in the last few weeks, last few months, and you know, we'll just see what happens.
If the fight does happen, it sounds like the expectation is that the two would throw down during the International Fight Week pay-per-view this summer, a card fans also hope winds up playing host to a fight between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. Alex Pereira not happy with Sean Strickland's performance. After flying out to Australia to corner Sean Strickland against Dricus du Plessis this past weekend, Alex Pereira was one of a few different people that expressed their disappointment in the former champion's performance. During Tuesday's installment of the Ariel Helwani show, Extreme Couture's Eric Nixick spoke about the fight, revealing that Alex Pereira was left confused by Strickland's performance. He leaned over a few times and he's looking at me like, what the hell's going on with Sean? And I'm looking at him like, man, we need to get this out of him, you know? He was cool and he has a lot of great insight. Nixick also shared his own thoughts on Strickland's performance, indicating he was left feeling uninspired. It was just uninspired fighting to me. It just seemed like Sean Strickland was sleepwalking. It was tough, man, to travel all the way to Australia. And let's not forget, this is a title fight. I take these title fights very seriously. I was just disappointed, man. The way Nixick sees things, Strickland has to decide whether he wants to fight for money or whether he wants to fight for titles. I think he needs to evaluate what he wants to do in this sport. If it's just to make money, then that's great. Let us know. I want to coach world champions, so my motivations are different. I think that, you know, just to kind of show up and do that and, you know, not really back it up, just to me, was kind of uninspiring. He also revealed that Strickland was in fact dealing with a case of staph, like many fans had said, but he doesn't think that's why Strickland looked flat on fight night. He had a staph couple weeks prior to us leaving. He was on antibiotics. He looked great leading up to the last week and a half of training. To me, that's not the reason why he fell flat. The performance also earned Strickland some criticism from Luke Rockhold, who's fresh off a verbal TKO loss to Mike Perry in BKFC. The former champion weighed in during his own guest appearance on Monday's installment of the Ariel Helwani show. We all watched the fight. We all heard this guy talk. To the Dutchman, to the this talks such a big game. And then he out and basically quits in the fight after he breaks his nose. What are you worried about? The world title's on the line. That's all you want. That's all you've dreamed of. And you're more worried about fixing your nose than winning and biting down on your mouthpiece and doing what you've got to do? I mean, it shows your true character. Considering the broken nose, it'll probably be a while before we see Strickland in action again. Michael Chandler on Paddy Pimblett fight. Before Michael Chandler's rematch with Charles Oliveira, there was some buzz surrounding a potential fight between him and Paddy the Baddy. Now, in the wake of Chandler's loss to Du Bronx, the MMA community really wants to see him and the Baddy throw down. In a post on social media on Tuesday, Chandler weighed in on a potential fight between the two. Y'all are funny. Fighting Paddy Pimblett is a scary fight. Just joking. Can you imagine? While there's been tons of talk about Pimblett fighting Chandler, Nate Diaz wants to see the Baddy throw down with Dustin Poirier in the Diamond's retirement fight, despite the fact that Poirier told Front Office Sports his retirement fight would be against the Baddy. In a post on his Instagram story, Diaz wrote, "Fight Paddy. He's better than you." In response, Pimblett wrote, "Nate Diaz knows his he's a real G. Dustin Poirier fight BSD when he's ranked 12, but not me. You know what would happen." According to the Baddy, his return is almost finalized, and he's just waiting for the UFC to announce it. UFC updates. Heading into this weekend's card at the Apex, let's take a look at today's UFC fight updates, starting with an update on Jack Jenkins, who was hospitalized after his loss over the weekend. According to MMA Fighting's Damon Martin, Jack Jenkins has been discharged from the hospital and he's doing okay per sources, after a scary situation where he suffered a fracture to his thyroid cartilage that caused air to leak into his chest and neck. We also have an update on the cancelled Umar Sy Alonzo Menefield fight we reported on earlier in the week that was set to take place in London. According to Sy, he suffered an injury in camp after a training partner fell on him. At his doctor's discretion, he withdrew from the fight. This week also saw UFC veteran Bill Algeo announce his retirement via Instagram following a loss to the Korean Superboy over the summer. In his retirement announcement, Algeo wrote in part, Decided to hang him up for reals this time. This game has been good to me and helped me develop and become a better person. I've met plenty of cool people along the way chasing their dreams and shared the cage with some rivals, friends, and heroes of mine. Thank you to the UFC and staff for taking care of me. Thank you to my peoples who have been with me since the beginning and buying tickets to random casinos to help me live my dream. We also have an update on this weekend's RoboCop Cannoneer card with Mazrabjan Ruziboev, the brother of Nursultan, stepping in on short notice to fight Jared Gordon after his original opponent, Kurt Fernandez, withdrew because of visa issues. And last but not least, the UFC has announced International Fight Week, with the Hall of Fame ceremony set for June 26th, the Fan Expo set for June 27th and 28th, and UFC 317 set for June 28th. MMA community roasts Belal Muhammad for footage. During a guest appearance on The Yak, one of Barstool Sports' flagship programs, Belal Muhammad took part in a three-point contest. Over a 90-second round, Muhammad struggled to find the bottom of the net, with the exception of a few air balls. In response to the clip, Muhammad replied, "It wasn't regulation sized." Despite that, the MMA community was quick to crack jokes about the situation. Bro didn't make one shot. Another joked about all of Muhammad's bricks. Belal was building a skyscraper. WTF, LOL. One replied, "First one was nothing but net." One member of the MMA community joked about some old footage of Jon Jones struggling on the court. This is a better look for MMA Twitter though. He's hitting rim on these 3 attempts, unlike Jon Jones on simple layups. A fan with a Colby Covington profile picture weighed in as well, adding, "Roids don't help make shots, they only help win decisions." Another wrote, "I don't even play basketball, but I think I can beat him on this." A few fans found ways to work some decision jokes into the mix. Belal wins his pickup games by decision, that's why. This video doesn't tell the whole story. They told him to make a shot for every finish he has in the UFC. One fan brutally joked, "That Leon eye poke's still affecting him apparently." So far, no word yet on when Muhammad will be back in the octagon. Belal Muhammad details how he could beat Dricus du Plessis and achieve double champ status. Belal said, "I'd come out him with a 1-2 that he'd wing an overhand, I'll duck it, change levels and take him down, then he'd shrimp and get the underhook to get out, but he'll be too weak to get up, so then I'll hit him with a ground and pound for the rest of the round 1. Round 2 starts and I come out with a flying knee, he shells up, then I hit him with the zabit, back trip, then point and laugh at him. This makes him mad. This makes him mad. He gets up and charges forward, winking punches at me. I slide out of the way with ease, then hit him with a 1-2. Then he gets frustrated, shoots for a takedown. I defend with ease, but now he's tired and stays on his knees. I kick him in the body while he's on the ground. End of round 2, round 3 starts and he's distraught. He can't hit me, he can't take me down, so then he tries spinning stuff. I back up at the right time and end up taking his back. He lets me under chin out of frustration, then I put him to sleep and new double champ." Khamzat Chimaev trolls Alex Pereira. Khamzat Chimaev might be gearing up for a middleweight title fight against Dricus du Plessis. However, it looks like he's already setting the stage for a big showdown with Alex Pereira. On Tuesday, Chimaev trolled Poatan with a pair of posts on social media, showing the former 2-division glory kickboxing champ on the canvas after being knocked out by Israel Adesanya. In one of the posts, he wrote, "Sama, wake up," while in the other, he simply added, "Sama." Although Chimaev was considered an oversized welterweight and seems to be an average-sized middleweight, the odds of him making the immediate jump up to light heavyweight, even if he beats Dricus du Plessis, seem pretty slim, considering it seems like the UFC is preferring guys to defend their titles a couple of times before moving up for another belt. Bo Nickal responds to MMA Guru video. As we reported yesterday, MMA Guru made some comments saying he can't trust USA Wrestling credentials anymore. Guru said that they are always hyped up before entering the UFC and basically get fraud checked by the first athletic person they fight. Bo Nickal saw those comments and reacted, which was included in yesterday's video. Since then, MMA Guru made a response video and Bo Nickal has responded. MMA Guru reacted to Bo Nickal's tweet saying,
"Here's my absolute official deal to Bo Nickal. I ain't coming on your podcast so you can disprove me. How about this? Disprove me over the next few years where we, of course, because you are correct, watch you run through the top of the middleweight division and ragdolled a lot of them. Disprove me by doing that. Second reason I'm not coming on the podcast. I ain't going nowhere Ariel Helwani's already been. You're the one who's got to prove me wrong. That tells me I'm right. The fact that I'm making a general take about all credentials when it comes from the US, when it comes to wrestling. Only you, one of the best, you know, that they've got right now, the best candidate they've got. Only you can prove me wrong. And even then, it's looking a bit risky on whether or not you're going to be able to. So that's my deal to Bo. I ain't debating you about this on no podcast. Prove me wrong by ragdolling these middleweights. Don't go out there against Paul Craig because, Chael, I'm on your team about this. When I know someone's this and I hear Bo Nickal's got this in his arsenal and that, when it comes to grappling and wrestling in general, I want to see it.
Bo Nickal reacted saying, "MMA Guru, after I retire, you'll bow down to American wrestling, but I don't think you're wrong, just misinformed. I partially agree with what you're saying. Let's chat." A fan asked if he likes the MMA guru, to which he responded saying, "Might be his biggest fan." Manel Kape and Brandon Royval heated exchange after fight cancellation. Manel Kape may still be on the UFC Vegas 103 card at the beginning of March, after Brandon Royval withdrew due to a concussion sustained in training, but Starboy is pretty pissed at Royval for withdrawing. In a scathing post on social media heading into the weekend, Kape took aim at Royval, writing, "In this sport, if you get knocked down in training, it is part of it. It is something inevitable. Can happen to anyone. We are not doing ballet. But this is not an injury that can keep you away from a fight, like a broken hand, a broken rib, etc. Take 4 days to rest and that's it. The option to get out of the fight is yours. In fact, you guys don't want it as much as you say you want it. You guys just want to play safe games. Hashtag little puppy." Royval responded, firing off a scathing shot of his own at Kape. "Calm your gyno-filled You don't even deserve to fight me. You beat number 14 after having the worst fight in UFC history. I'm just doing side quests at this point. I'll see you though." Considering the delicate nature of concussions, it's too early to speculate on when Royval will be able to return to action. While some guys bounce back after a few weeks, others, like TJ Grant, have had their careers derailed in their primes because of training camp concussions. From the sounds of things, once he's back to 100%, he has a score to settle with Kape. Jon Jones got dropped in sparring, according to Jon Jones' former training partner. On a recent episode of the Jackson podcast, Carlos Condit revealed that both himself and Jon Jones were dropped by the same guy in sparring on the same day. Here's what Carlos had to say.
All right, real talk, be honest if you want to say. Have you ever seen anybody best Jon in the gym?
I have, yeah. The same guy, me up the round right before too. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Adlan Amagov, Chechen dude, and he fought in the UFC a couple times. I think his last fight, man, they carried his opponent out on the stretcher.
Oh wow!
But yeah, no, he finished a number of guys. He was like a spinning back kick guy, and he me up, and then I think a round or two later, hit Jon with that spinning back kick.
Did he drop him?
He dropped him.